Hello, I am the cartoonist M. Rashid. This cartoon is one of the ones that's been shared a lot, by on 4chan and other sites. Um, they try to put their own spin on it based on, the propaganda and stuff that they talk about Black Americans with all the time, uh, based on the concept that the response or the effects of racism are where history starts. That's their usual position, you know. So, but the reason why I originally created the original inspiration for this particular cartoon, because during a particular time period in 2017, before I formally began my Weapon of the People Decoded Gag a Day editorial cartoon project, when I was still experimenting with editorial cartoons at that time. I came across a cache of different websites that just dropped me down the rabbit hole, different articles and stuff that were showing the effects of the plunder of systemic racism. A sampling of those sites. Like, I'm going to read you the titles of a few of them. U.S. government uses race tests for $80 million in payments. Survey finds insurance companies charge black drivers living in predominantly African American neighborhoods 70% more for auto insurance. Wells Fargo deliberately pushed dangerous loans on blacks. Just 4 home loans were given to African Americans in this major city in a whole year. Structural racism eliminated black farmers. So, I came across a whole bunch of these kind of sites that all together was triggering me. It was showing things in a certain light, things I'd already known at the high level, but now that you're looking into the weeds of what's actually going on and been going on for a minute, it was much. It was part of my journey to being active, I gotta do something. So in those days, I hadn't discovered ADOS yet, and there was a lot of trying to reinvent the wheel on my own for certain stuff. I was like, my own independent study got me to the point where I realized that there had to be some kind of black political agenda. So when I went looking for it and saw that the Congressional Black Caucus, didn't actually have one, and they cobbled something together like when Trump put them on the spot, but it was, and then it was a lot going on around that time, but most of it was like my eyes opening, and I ended up grabbing as many of those sites. Every time I found one of those sites, I was putting it in the blog post, and I created this cartoon as the cover to that blog post. Like, this is the cover that represents the theft, this continuous theft by the white racist aristocracy upon my people. Every time I came across another article, I put it in there. At a certain point, I answered a question in Quora that was related to it, to the general theme, and it got legs and had like a long dialogue of people coming in and discussing it with me. And so I captured the dialogue the way I usually do and posted it underneath that list of links. So when you go down to the description here and see the bit.ly shortener link to it. It'll take you to that actual blog post, and you'll see not only that cartoon in the citation, but you'll also see the list of original links I put underneath it. And you'll see this long dialogue with several people who are engaged within Quora back in that year. I think it was 2017 when I had the actual discussion too. I since stopped posting new articles I found in that particular blog post and started posting them in their own section on my blog itself, on the left hand side of my blog, under the heading Infinity Gems. I start posting them, so there's like at least double more than that, on there now. So if you care to look for them for your own study, I put them there for easy access during arguments and discussions and stuff. If I need that link, I just go there and grab it and post it. So in the cartoon, based on the nature of the theft of the Black American, part of the subjugation of Black Americans to keep us from competing fairly in the markets with whites, is the years of I first came across the term plunder in that used in that way from Ta-Nehisi Coates at that time. He was the first one that I saw who in my studies who used the term plunder, and it shook me. It was it stood up to me when he said it, and it I've been using it ever since in my own work. So what I noticed inside of the I think I'm gonna go ahead and share that Quora, the original Quora answer too, because it has a different cartoon from my prototype days I shoved in there. Just for the record, I'll put that in there with it in the description. But the my time that I put that cartoon together, the direct inspiration for it was noticing that whites will call me racist just for bringing up the topic, just for discussing it at all, just for saying it, just for pointing out what they did. They would call me a racist. So then I came across this, I forgot the guy's name, but there was this biographical sketch of an article about one of the Black public intellectual guys on the left. Somebody shared it with me on Twitter. I had a long dialogue with her about it back then. It might have been around the same time period. But inside the article, there was this white shock jock who had been attacking this same Black intellectual guy and just harassing him and stuff online and stuff like that. But what was interesting to me was that this white shock jock, racist guy, he said that racism was the Black Americans' fault because we wouldn't just let it go. That if we would that whenever a Dylan Roof or somebody shot up a Black church or something like that, if we would just unconditionally forgive them and turn the other cheek and never talk about racism, then racism would go away. He's like, racism is our fault because we keep bringing it up. That was his position. So that was part of the nonsense of the white racist aristocracy that inspired this cartoon. So inside of it, you see a white guy stealing money from a Black family which is what history shows. This is the nature of racism. Systemic racism from its root is wealth being taken from black people by white people. White people maintain the position they do because they've been using the black American former slave class ethnic group as their living ATM machine. We can't accrue wealth over generations to pass as inheritance ourselves because whites have been plundering us through all these different means that you see in all these links. Stealing land from various different ways, charging us over interest and all kinds of stuff. This is the nature of my relationship with the white racist aristocracy. They're thieving, grifting liars who've been stealing from me for their own, so they can strut about in the land like fake lords. So I made the cartoon where the little girl is like, you're wearing a mask, but I can still see you. And just the fact of her saying that, he's like, you're being racist. That's reverse racism. Just you saying that, not letting me get away with it. You trying to make me feel bad. That's racist. Never make a white person feel bad in any way, shape, or form, or it's racist. That's the spin they do. And of course, 4chan and them, when they're like sharing it, all they do is like, what? Maybe he's like, where did they even get money? And like this, they just sound dumb, but it's a dumb from a position where they rank, like 4chan isn't like necessarily a hive mind. There's several other like ideologies and creeds of racist whites that hang out with them. So it's not just the same guy, and it's you could tell by the way they talk who is who. They'll act different and they'll say otherwise, but remember in Charlottesville, the Unite the Right rally. That's what they called it. So since words mean stuff, I have no interest in them trying to, after the fact, split themselves up into different factions. Like, you're all united on that side, you're united. You very loudly, publicly announced that you were united. So any like pushback about me putting a Nazi symbol and stuff on with the mixing the symbolism, you did that. So I don't want to hear your mouth. Unite the right. Words mean stuff. Lean into it. So that the nonsense they complain about, it's like you want to do stuff and then complain about it, and then and then say at the other side of their neck that they don't have privilege and entitlements and stuff like that. It's goofy, was what it is. It's comical in a diabolical, crazy way, Another item I wanted to point out with this cartoon is that inside of the dialogue that you'll see is a member of the LGBT community came in to engage too. And she was like, this was in 2017. I learned a lot since then from a lot of different places, and even though I wasn't as sophisticated in my argument then as I am now from all the new stuff I've learned since then, I held my own and I recognized certain things from a less learned place, but it was still potent. So what I wanted was her to reveal what you want. What is your actual message? I don't want any ambiguity or nothing in it hiding behind like the politics of it. What do you want? Why are you here? I needed to be clear on that so I could see And at a certain point, she admitted that some white handlers took her in and groomed her in the politics of advocating for a certain agenda. And in the light of her admitting this, her presence in the thread was very enlightening. You know, like, and this was 2017, even before Dave Chappelle was pointing it out, certain stuff that her using the Black Americans' dormant, disenfranchised vote as a mule tool to buoy other groups for their economic come ups is one part of it. And the other part of it is erasing my anti racism struggle and replacing it with their protected class thing. So how she moved in this thread in the argument, you could see a lot there, and you could see it. This was a valuable addition to a thread dedicated to the theft and plunder of the Black American former slave class. Thank you for your contribution to helping me make this point. It's very, this is a strong cartoon and everything that goes around it that it's linked to. I couldn't let those the dialogue in Korra just stay where it is, where people could still go in and do stuff. I take that stuff and put it so it can be safe, and now it's on my trophy wall. You can do whatever you want with the original thread, but that is frozen on my blog for all to still see. All right, so that's what this cartoon was about. Never mind, it's oft shared and they put their spins on it, but this is definitively why I created the cartoon and what it actually means. Peace.